My name is Katina Bright, and I am the owner of Bright Beginnings Child Care Center, which will be opening very soon in Millsboro. I am a graduate of Sussex Central High School. I graduated in 1991, and I began my early childhood career at Del Tech. At that time, Mrs. Athey was the director of the early childhood program. And from there, I transferred to Delaware State University to earn my bachelor's degree in elementary education. The convenient thing about that is because I was living here in Sussex County, I was able to take most of my classes right here at Del Tech in what at the time we called the higher education building. I currently am a fourth grade teacher at Milton Elementary School, and I have been there since 2003 when Milton Elementary came into existence. Prior to that, it was a middle school, and then when our district built a new middle school, we wanted to preserve the history of the building there, so we are now an elementary school. So my first year in the Cape and Lupin District, I taught fifth grade. Since then, I have been a fourth grade teacher there. My public school career began in Tappahannock, Virginia, where I taught fourth grade for 3 years, and I taught second grade for 1 year. My long-term goal has always been to open a child care center, so to provide a service for parents who work by giving them an atmosphere where their children are safe, their physical needs are met, and they are nurtured and participate in activities that are developmentally appropriate. Why is a child care center necessary? So I did some research, and Millsboro does not have a lot of centers. There are quite a few home daycares, but there are not as many centers. And the centers that are in my area, one is Little Einstein's, and they do not take infants. They start with the older toddlers. Mother Goose is also in Millsboro and has been there for many years. However, they start with 2-year-olds. Millsboro Child Care Center is another center that has been there for a very long time in the area, and they do take infants. There's a new center, another new center coming to Millsboro, Giggle Bugs, and they're starting with 3-month-old children. And then Splash, which I really don't consider Millsboro, but when I went to the website, there's a website you can go to, kids.delaware.gov, and it gives you information. As a parent looking for child care, you could go to that website to find out what are the centers in the area. Splash is actually out on 24 West going towards Gumboro, and they do take infants as well. 2 centers have recently closed in Millsboro. The Noah's Ark was in one building I am now occupying. It's on 24 John J. Williams Highway, and I'm right outside the town of Millsboro. The second one was in Long Neck. It was almost right across from Long Neck Elementary School, and that one closed at the end of February. There are many working families in Millsboro. I look at Millsboro as a small town, but then when I begin to think about who is going to be my target market, there are quite a few people who come into Millsboro to work each day. I'm not that far from Mount Air Farms. Originally, Mount Air Farms and Atlantic Shores Healthcare were my target markets. Atlantic Care is the nursing home that's right on 113 in Millsboro. Looking at those two, I decided that my hours needed to be 6:30 a.m. because most people in the healthcare field need to be to work by 7 a.m. But then when I began to look at it, we have an M&T Bank call center in Millsboro. There are several other smaller banks in Millsboro as well. There's Millsboro Middle School, East Millsboro, BJ's, Wawa, Food Line, and Lowe's. And then because of my location on Route 24, there's a Renaissance Healthcare down in Long Neck, but I would be easily accessible to parents who have to go to Renaissance in the morning. This has been quite a journey that I started in 2012, and I began with the YWCA. At that time, they had a location in Georgetown, and that's where I took my classes for writing my business plan. And I was under the great leadership of Miss Brenda Whitehurst and Miss Deanne Walker, and I learned many things through them to write my business plan. It was really an overview of everything that I needed to know. They gave me lots of information and pointed me in the right direction to get there. After they were finished with me, they sent me to the Small Business Administration, and I worked with Ms. Sharon Luth. And she was a very detailed person. She taught me how to look at the details of the lease, look at all your utilities, your expenses, be realistic, who's paying for what money is coming in each month. From there, I had to take an orientation with Child Care Licensing in Dover. And in that orientation, they let me know everything that I need to know in order to become a licensed center. And this orientation I went to more than once, because once you go, it's only good for a year. So if you don't open your business in that year, then you have to go back again, which is okay because you learn something new each time. So by going to it, though, and early on in the stages, I was able to get the information that I needed to work on. So things like my handbooks, which is a big part of the process, the application process. Probably the longest part is writing your handbooks. But I was able to get that done. So when I presented my application to Child Care Licensing in March, all my handbooks were complete. And I didn't have to fix anything in those, so that was good. Handbooks through Child Care Licensing, you do your handbooks, your menus, your emergency planning, floor plans, and my inspections. This week I've had several inspections, and I'm getting things fixed. And the good thing about that is when I open, everything will be in correct working order. So I don't look at it as a downfall that is taking me longer than I anticipated to get open, because everything will be as it should be. Obtaining a building. I obtained my building in December of last year, and then in March I took possession of the building. And as I said before, I'm located on John J. Williams Highway, is the 911 address, right outside the town of Millsboro. It is the former location of Noah's Ark. Since we've been there in March, we've probably had at least 20 inquiries of families looking for childcare for their children. Some people call, some people have stopped by as well. And on May 20th, I will have my first visit from Child Care Licensing, and from there, they will let me know if there's anything additional I need to do, and when I will be fully licensed to start. Time? Okay. And then some of the things that are important to me are having a quality staff, the availability, the hours, and that the children are learning, because learning starts before they get to kindergarten. Thank you so much for your time.
Now we have the privilege to be able to ask you questions.
Okay.
And Mr. South is going to lead off.
Thank you very much for an excellent presentation. And,
Thank you.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
I'd like you to go back to the steps.
Yes. Okay.
Could you tell us briefly which steps were the longest in your journey to, obviously, your dream?
The most time was spent with the YWCA and the Small Business Administration, and the reason for that is because you're writing a business plan. When I went through the YWCA, I believe it was like a 6-week course, so that took 6 weeks. And then I went through the Small Business Administration. I probably met with Sharon 3 or 4 times, and we were fine-tuning things that were there. So I would say those were the longest.
And how long would that period be?
Well, I actually started in 2012 with the YWCA.
2012.
Yes,
And opening day is
this year.
this year,
Hopefully something by the end of May.
2012 to this year. Well, this is very important, especially to those going into business, as to, I really like your depiction of the steps. And if you took the steps and then put the time involved in each step, I thought maybe you were going to say, well, the child care licensing is fairly long, and I'm always looking at how long does it take an entrepreneur to get all the licensing and the permitting, et cetera, to obtaining a building and actually bringing the building up to quote unquote code to actually go into business.
Right, well, I got the building in December, and then I guess in March I had to get plans, and now the county is requiring you to have an architectural stamp on your plans.
Right.
The gentleman, Arcology out of Milford, he really didn't take a long time getting that, but then those plans have to go to the state fire marshal, and then the fire marshal came out and said, you need to have an electrician come out It's been going pretty quickly, and that's thanks to my mom, because I work full-time, but my mom is there, so she's able to meet with
Absolutely.
everyone
Absolutely.
that comes through. So this week we had the septic inspection, electrical inspection, alarm engineering. Several people have been out this week. I think they've been very good about their turnaround time. They're not taking a long time to come
Good.
out and do those things.
Well, that's good to hear, because a lot of us think that maybe we're not as open for business as we say we are.
Right.
Because of the amount of time it takes to get into business. So congratulations again, and this is really an educational process that you have here stepwise for others to actually talk about how it goes to get into business and how long the steps take.
Right.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
It's exciting. Understanding that you are still working full-time and this is going to be your business, what does that look like as the owner of, this child care center? Are you going to be present there, or what's that look like for you?
Well, I've been very fortunate to hire an administrator who also has a bachelor's in early childhood education. Because of my time in with the state, I'm only 7 years out from retirement, so I intend to stay there. And I also have one in college and one going to college. So I intend to continue teaching, but my summers will be spent there instead of doing summer school at my home school.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up on what he said. The realistic picture of from start to finish, it's an average of 3 years to do it consistently and properly. What is your capacity?
The capacity, what the center was licensed for before, was 34 children. So I'm looking at that same capacity.
And are you going to, do you have a kitchen? Are you going to have cooked meals? Are you going to have the food program?
We will not be, we do not have a kitchen, so we won't be able to cook meals. We will provide snacks. What I'm looking at doing is partnering with a local restaurant. The Georgia House has done that for other centers, and I'm looking to do that once I have my children enrolled and I know if it's affordable and how many children are actually going to participate in getting those lunches.
Very good.
Beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
You laid the groundwork so well. How many employees do you foresee having?
It is based upon the child-to-staff ratio.
Right.
So with infant care, it's only 1 to 4. I would like to always have 2 people opening and 2 people closing, because those are the hectic times of the day when parents are dropping off and picking children up. As of right now, I have 3 people, but I project it from 6 to 9 employees.
Right. And where will you find those employees?
I also teach adult ed at Sussex Tech. I teach the early care
In your
classes.
spare time?
Yes. So I teach the early care classes, and sometimes we get good students come through. So I actually interviewed one of my students that I currently have. They'll be graduating May 7th, and I have another one in mind from that class. And also, my administrator, since she's been in early care for a while, she's recommended people as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I am really, really, really very proud of you. And I'm piggybacking again with Mike and how you have so carefully and intentionally laid out the steps. So going forward, and as a visionary, Leslie asked the question, you're working a full-time job, 7 years out for retirement, you really don't see, devoting more time than necessary to be there. 5 years from now, where do you see yourself?
Eventually, I would like to open other child care centers. Children are my passion, and I just think that the better care we give them early on, the more successful they will be later in life. So I do, my goal is 3 centers, but if this took, I've been working on this for 3 years, it's going to take time. So I think the process will be easier going forward because I've spent so much time learning through this process. But I do hope to open other centers. My youngest daughter is a junior at Sussex Tech, and she's in the, what do they call it, child ed program there. So this is for her. I'm leaving, tell her this is for her. So, and my son is actually, he's a English major, He worked last summer at the Boys and Girls Club in Rehoboth, and he loved it. So this is for them,
Okay. It's awesome. But let's talk money.
okay?
You didn't just get here by all the work that you've done. It takes money.
Right.
Talk to us about some of your financial collaborations, some of the partners, and some of the resources that you may have utilized to get there.
As far as financing to get open. At this time, I've only done personal, it's all been personal loans that I've taken out to get to this point.
Okay, so no debt, very little debt.
Not for the business, no.
Okay?
No.
Minimal. That deserves a round of applause.
Thank you.
Give it to her. Another question? I have one for you.
Yes.
You mentioned the handbook.
Yes.
Did you have any examples to go by, or did you have to write it from scratch?
Well, you take the Delaware rules. When you go to an orientation, they give you a packet, and it has all the rules for child care centers for the state of Delaware. And then the child care licensing will tell you which rules need to be included in your handbook. I did have examples to look at. And then but what I really did, and I was talking to my licensing specialist yesterday, she said, you made it really easy. They have a list of all the rules, and I just went through the list, and that's how I presented them in my handbook.
Very good. How about additional questions? Well, I have one more, and then
Okay.
one that we'd like to end with. What would you say has been your biggest challenge with all of this?
It's something that I wanted to do, so I was going to do it no matter what. So I'm not sure what the greatest challenge was. I guess obtaining a building, because that took some time to find the building that would be suitable for childcare.
I think it's great that your mom's been helping you so much. You're so fortunate. Thanks, Mom,
Very
right?
fortunate.
What can we as a community do to help support you?
One thing would be marketing, and then continue with the business series, because I've never managed staff before. So those types of things, I'm still looking to learn more in that area.
And what is your expected capacity in terms of children?
34, about 34 children.
Very good. Well, we wish you much, much luck and success, and it certainly sounds like you're putting some great foundational blocks to be just that.
Thank you.